Hello. Hi everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our Guiding Voice podcast series. The Guiding Voice for a better future. So in this episode, today we are going to hear about role of higher education and what kind of opportunities one can pursue soon after engineering with regard to higher education. Dear listeners, as mentioned in our previous episode, here we are with another distinguished guest, Naresh. With 15 years in corporate and academics, Naresh Dubudu is a serial entrepreneur with brands under his belt like Abhyas and Factly. He is a management consultant and a CEO coach. He was a board member of AIMS, which stands for Association of Indian Management Schools AP chapter. He is also the Hindu Business Line expert panelist on economy and education. In addition to that, Naresh has been mentoring many startups. Naresh also acted as director of Hyderabad campus for United World School of Business, a prestigious institute. On the corporate side, he worked with some big brands like McKinsey, Edelweiss, Telcon, and Maruti Udyog. Coming to the academics, he is a proud alumni of NIT Warangal. In fact, he is a gold medalist too. He is also an alumni of IIM Bangalore. He was also a state topper in SSC exams in 1997.
With his strong, illustrious academic background, coupled with the global corporate experience, Naresh has helped shape the careers of thousands of students at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels. In this episode, let us get Naresh's views on higher education, how higher education helps in shaping the careers, and also what will be the right time to pursue and where.
Thank you so much, Naresh, for joining us today and appreciate your valuable time. Naresh, it's a privilege to have you as our guest on this show. As you are aware, we just started taking baby steps on this journey of the Guiding Voice podcast series. The Guiding Voice for a better future. Sudhakar and I are super excited about the interview, and we are sure our listeners would be enlightened with this episode.
Naresh, can we get started?
Absolutely, Sudhakar. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay. Naresh, starting from being the state topper in 10th class SSC board to studying in prestigious institutes like National Institute of Technology, Warangal and IIM Bangalore experience, how does it feel when you look back on your journey?
Thank you for this question, Sudhakar. When I look back on my journey and the kind of places I've got to go to, I believe the two things I have learned. It's not the places or the brand names themselves that have made me what I am today, but the kind of people I met, the kind of networks I made, the kind of situations I got into, the kind of exposure I got into, that made me what I am today. And the second thing is, these institutions and the successes I had has given me a huge responsibility. They are my foundation, but at the same time, they continuously remind me that these world-class institutions that I got a chance to go to is a lifetime opportunity. Not many people get this chance. And because I got this chance, it's very important for me to kind of use this foundation to do something great, create jobs. I want to be a job creator, job giver, and give it back to the society.
Thank you for that, Naresh. It's amazing that the world-class institutions, what actually they can give. Not only the platform and the brand, but also the great people connections, not necessarily from your branch and your batch only, but also the alumni. Really glad that you are actually pursuing what you aspire and creating the jobs through your own startups and also by mentoring other startups as well. Thank you for doing that, Naresh.
Thank you, Sudhakar.
With that learnings and that connections, when you started this professional journey, starting from Maruti Udyog Limited to current association with Abhyas and Factly, how did the advanced degree that you got from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, helped you throughout your professional career?
Sudhakar, like I just said earlier, I believe my educational degrees have played two roles. One is obviously the kind of learning I had about running a business, financial, marketing, etc. But I think the bigger difference it made to my current standing is that it opened doors for me. So being from IIM Bangalore, being from NIT Warangal has given me an opportunity to kind of make an impression on people when I met them first. I think people, whenever you meet someone, they obviously take interest in what you have done already and the kind of places you've been to. That gives you an advantage for sure. Being from IIMs, being from NITs gives me the advantage of the door opening for me for the first interaction. Once that is done, it is obviously up to what I do, what kind of impression I make, what kind of my work should speak, my skills should speak. I think that is a big difference. Coming to the educational, the degree, the kind of value I've learned from the education, I believe while I was an engineer in graduation and then I went to business management, I have found one common thing across my education, that is problem solving. At the end of the day, whether you're an engineer, whether you are a manager, it is all up to problem solving. And problem solving is one skill that has kind of been taught to me throughout my education that I have been utilizing for the last decade or so, all the while.
Excellent, Naresh. Thank you for that. Definitely coming from a prestigious institute always gives you that advantage and that step in the door. And after that, like you mentioned, it is what you bring to the table that actually takes over. That's absolutely great point that you highlighted there. Naresh, now that you have spent so much time interacting with thousands of students in helping them, coaching them in making decisions, giving them the support to take right decisions in pursuing their higher education or getting into the corporate world. What advice would you give to our listeners on deciding which field to go for, what is the right time, and where to get your higher education? Can you give a couple of tips for our listeners, please?
Yeah, Sudhakar, this is probably the core of this interview, isn't it? This question is the core of the interview.
Absolutely.
I would want to kind of bring your listeners to a notice of one of my framework that I have kind of made, very similar to the Japanese, which says about finding the real joy in you. So I say when students come to me over the last decade or so, I have made a three circle approach. I call it career circles framework that I have made. And the three circles that I speak about when you're choosing a career, when you're choosing a corporate plan for yourself, what you really want to do in life, you're finding, I say the three things that are very important, three circles, three buckets that are very important. The first one I call about is interest. What interests you? What do you enjoy the most? What really gives you satisfaction? What is your passion? What you can do for hours without getting bored? That is one important thing. The second thing that I talk about to students is capability. Capability or ability, which is about what kind of abilities do you have. For example, you might love something, but you might do it tirelessly. But are you really able to kind of show results in that field? Capability matters a lot. And the third obvious thing is market value. I call it market value. Third circle, third bucket is market value is what the market kind of gives value to the profession or the career that you are planning. So I call this the career circles framework, ICM. We have used for the last 10 years in our thing to coach thousands of students on this. Not only students, even parents also, because I suggest parents to look at all three of them. And if you can listen to me carefully, Sudhakar, it is not just the three words, three terms, three buckets, but also the order. I've always told students and parents that I becomes far more important than C, C becomes far more important than M. For example, if one has interest, they can try and acquire capability. If one has capability, market value will come, but not the other way. A lot of times people make the big mistake of assuming going behind a particular career, particular job, particular choice that is in demand in market today. But the problem is that might be in demand today, but not tomorrow. In the interesting times that we are now, we are living now, Sudhakar, with Corona and things like that, we know for sure in next few months, world is going to change drastically, right? A lot of jobs are like going to be they're going to be pink slip. At the same time, new jobs are going to emerge. So the important thing for people to remember, students and parents to remember, is it's not important for you to focus on market value. Market value will come. Yes, every different profession has market value. In fact, it is said that it is not important what you do, it is important how will you do it, right? So in that context, I've always suggested people to focus on interest and capability. Market value will follow. This is one mantra, one framework I suggest students to follow. And another important thing that I want to kind of share with you before in this respect is, a lot of times people mistake. Sometimes parents ask me, while my kid shows an interest in a particular sport, how do I like ascertain that it's real passion? How do I ascertain that they're really doing it? I'm not sure if they can really have the capability. I give one simple mantra to parents and even students also. I tell students also. I'll give you I'm a connected incident, so I'll first talk about incident. I remember a few years back, I was I was speaking on a conference of thousands of students. One student stands up after we do the speakers speak about it. One student stands up and asks a question. Sirs, I want to kind of get into archaeology. I really love archaeology, but my dad does not allow me to do archaeology. He wants me to do engineering or medicine. Now, there are three or four speakers on the dais. We were all, what should we answer? I've kind of asked him one simple question. I'll help you convince your father that you should take up archaeology, but if you give me the answer on the spot to few questions I have. I've asked him, what are the top institutions in India that teach archaeology? What are the kind of courses that are taught there? What kind of opportunities do they have? What kind of competition does it have? How many people attempt? Do you know all this? The student was dumbfounded. So I say to parents and students that when some of your child and the student themselves, when you have an interest, you need to kind of convert that interest into passion. And how do you convert interest into passion? You have to research, you have to show to your elders, to your parents, to your family, to your support system that you actually are really, really interested in that. That's when the support system will come back. And this is what I told the student. And what I told the parents is, when someone really enjoys something, I had a student who has come to me, but he's really not interested in doing science, etc. He was interested in football. The father was not very sure. Father is very educated, but not sure. I've asked father to do one simple thing: give him 6 months. Let him try football very seriously, and do not let him learn football 1 hour or 2 hours a day. That is not going to make the cut. You have to enable the student to actually spend 12 hours or more in the football continuously, and then we'll know is it real passion or not. I'm very happy to say after 6 months he's actually like got into nationals for under 17, something like that. So I'm saying this is how I kind of guide students about how to make the career choice.
Excellent, Naresh. Really, two great things that our listeners are going to get benefited. In fact, I got benefited. One, check the level of interest and see if that can get converted into a passion. That way, both the student and parent know how deep the student or the candidate is in whatever the individual is trying to pursue. That's a great point, Naresh. And I'm sure our listeners are going to get immensely benefited with this ICM framework. The interest in the core, capability in the outer circle, and market value in the outermost circle. And I liked the way you explained the priority as well. So that, if you have interest and if you have that passion and convert that into your capability, the market fluctuation will not impact you in the long term. That's really something that I really enjoyed a lot, Naresh. Thank you very much for sharing this career circles framework, which is primarily into this ICM, interest, capability, and market value. Thanks for that.
All right. So in fact, to add to what Sudhakar has mentioned, this resonates the Japanese concept of Ikigai that you mentioned. Absolute coincidence of ICM. And in fact, not only students can benefit out of it, young professionals, as well as those who are at midlife career crisis, can also get benefited out of it. In case if you can identify your interest and then build a competency or capability around that, absolutely market value will come to you. Very well put through, buddy. Thank you, Naresh. And dear listeners, Naresh and I are from the same school, and we studied for around 6 years together. So Naresh, let me ask you some personal question, buddy. What is the most funny thing that you remember from our school days?
The most funny thing I remember from the school days is, you remember, Naveen, our school was on the outskirts of the town, if you remember, right? From the town, it was the outskirts of the town, and I had a friend who belongs to the village neighboring the town, right? While we come from the town, I remember the friend Raju. He's coming from the town. So every lunch, what used to happen is, because we usually have our lunch that is prepared by our parents. I used to have, my mother is a teacher. She always used to make chapati, nothing more, right? So sometimes it becomes boring. So what happened is Raju goes to his home to have his lunch, and when he comes back, he used to bring this tamarind. He used to give this tamarind from the tree, bring the tamarind, things like that. Exactly after the lunch. I remember that very much because these are things I used to just after the lunch. I think the fifth period usually we used to enjoy having these. You used to savor these small things. Today we have five-star buffets and lunches, but those, if you when funny incident, you say, yeah, that is what comes to my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it made me nostalgic too, Narisha.
I'm sure you guys had real fun, guys, when you were in the school.
It was indeed, Sudhakar. Like we used to commute around 3 kilometers on bicycles to reach our school, and it was in an isolated place. And our principal sir used to be very strict. We had a lot of good memories, and at the same time, we had very high quality education because of which we are here today.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Naveen, to add to what Naveen said, I believe while we had to kind of do that 3 kilometer cycling, etc., the real fun was, I think, we had a great school in the sense that the environments were great. It's spacious. At that time, we never realized the value of what we had. I remember, the entire playground. People used to have lunch outside in the playground. People used to sit in bunches and under the trees and stuff. I mean, that I don't think is happening these days. But that was lovely. I think we had very clearly 1,000 students, Naveen, 1,000 students easily, probably, like, great, and it's a very large campus, and that's why it is out of the town. And yes, like Naveen said, our principal, definitely the school principal and the teachers have shaped us where we are.
I have no doubts there, Naresh, especially with this little conversation that we are having now and with the long association with Naveen. I can see that. I think it was Steve Jobs, right, who mentioned you can always connect the dots looking backwards. So, now at the hindsight, we definitely appreciate actually the school, the discipline, the background that actually gave us to be where we are at this point of time. Excellent. On that great note, Naresh, I wanted to ask this question. Like, when we graduated in 2000s, at that point of time, we did not have this connected high-speed internet. So the options of, pursuing to next level, the masters, for example, were limited. So you can go to either UK or US, or you can go to sometimes Australia, or within India, you can do post graduation. But now we have so many options, like, foreign education from remote place, virtual universities online, integrated student exchange programs. So with these unlimited options, the selection process also gets complicated. So with the backdrop of your interest, capability, market value, this ICM framework, what will be your key tips to the students on how to choose the right steps on higher education?
Sudhakar, this question nicely fits into what's going on in the world right now. I want to just bring to your notice and your listeners' notice that you'd be surprised to know. I think till last year, after Donald Trump has got elected, I think US had been very strict with student visas and stuff, as you all know, right? Not just job visas, but even student visas. So what's happening now, very interestingly, is universities are trying to be behind the students now. Universities are coming back, trying to lure students because of the Corona crisis. So why I'm trying to speak about this is it's connected to what you just asked. I think there are plethora of options, like you rightly said. When I graduated in 2004, 2003, 3, 4. So I don't think there were too many options at that time. Not even a high-speed internet, like you rightly said. And the mail that I had, my first mail, I remember it was a Reddit mail. No, not even a Google mail, right? Those were the times. But today, people have a lot of options. Apart from the countries you mentioned, I actually believe countries like Germany, even Germany, are opening up. Germany, in that way, European countries. Germany is a very high quality country. Just that their language is a hindrance. I think they are also opening up with English courses. Now, what I suggest students when they speak about this education is, I believe it is important for you to understand, not look at your education for the sake of a job. For example, people going to US or UK or Australia or Canada or New Zealand, even now Germany, Belgium, etc. I suggest students to kind of look at, if you are looking at taking a course which is more technical in nature, it is more a kind of generalist versus specialist. I call any specialist course, any specialist career you're trying to get into, I always suggest students try to go to that geography, try to go to that region in the world which is doing the cutting edge research there. That is where you need to do your higher education. You have to say, for example, you want to talk about automobiles. I think nothing better than Germany or Japan, right? If you're talking about computer science, whatever said and done, today US still stands the best when it comes to computer science and like data sciences and stuff. So I think it's important for students to identify, if you want to be a specialist, try and find the geography, the country, the course where they're doing cutting edge. At the same time, in case you want to be a generalist, that is, you want to be an administrator, you want to run something, I think it is important for you to know the region does not make a difference. It is important for you to be localized. What I meant, let me explain with my own example. I remember very well, after I joined McKinsey, as you know, is a coveted management consulting firm in the world, and we were recruited from IIM. I had two options. I was joining their India office, or I had an opportunity to join their Brussels office. Obviously, I chose India. But later, one interesting thing happened. We used to go on cross projects also. So a lot of people from McKinsey New York office want to come to India, China. I'm talking about 10 years back, okay, 10 to 12 years back. Today it is different probably, but 10 to 12 years back. So what at that time, what happens is, a lot of times Indian office is not very, like, it's not very easy for them to give options even for students from New York office also. New York, you can understand, the global candidates also. Why? Because what happens is, people say that Indian clients, for example, would want to have someone who understands Indian business. Why would an Ambani, Reliance, would want to hire someone from New York? Similarly, American companies might not want to hire someone from Indian office when the cultural difference is there. So what I'm saying is, for specialist roles, you go to that space which offers you the best education in that field. But generalist roles like management, business education, I always suggest students to focus more on getting the flavor of the region that you are working in. Say if you want to develop a business in India, I would suggest students to kind of actually have business experience within India. And similarly, if you want to kind of settle in US, do something in US, it doesn't make any sense to do an MBA somewhere and then expect that you'll do that. Doing an MBA in US will be a great advantage.
Oh, thank you very much, Naresh. That's a very intriguing experience. The generalist versus specialist differentiation. So when we talk about specialist, you mentioned that it's always good to be more closer to the business. And when you are talking about generalist, have the better appreciation of the region so that you have the better flavor of that region. One follow-up question on that is, nowadays we are getting this online degree or diploma certifications for these specialist courses. How do you think those will be useful to any students' career prospects?
Sudhakar, I think all these virtual courses, online courses, certifications, etc., are actually in order to kind of enable candidates to continuously strive for growth. So whether you are in the good thing about this certifications is, when I started, I thought certifications were only there for software engineers, a lot of certifications. But today I see certifications and these things spring up in a lot of different places. I'm sure we all know, for example, CA is a professional certification given by a body, ICI. You'd be surprised to know so many international chapters are coming up for everything. We have a marketing chapter, we have every different thing. So what I'm saying is, these virtual courses, virtual diplomas that you get are very useful in case one is already good but he wants to signal. I think these act as signaling also. These kind of, say, on your resume, on your profile, when you have these kind of courses, you're signaling to the employers, prospective employers or prospective customers, partners, that you are very serious about this field. That's what it does. And sometimes with respect to knowledge, like I said, knowledge, anyone, like, it depends on you. You can access today. Knowledge is free. Knowledge is out there in the world, out there in the Google, right? Out there in there. But I think this diplomas do give a signal value. Probably the signal value is not high as a university degree itself, but still I would say very high signal value if you are able to follow it up, if you are able to show the follow.
Excellent. So this actually helps as the icing on the cake. So for something you already have, this gives you that additional benefit or advantage compared to others in the group. Great. Thanks, Naresh.
All right, so I think this is a great conversation, guys, and I'm sure all the professional students who have graduated from engineering and MBA and who are aspiring for further diploma courses, Naresh has provided excellent pointers. Just to reiterate what Naresh has mentioned, so these kind of specialized micro diploma programs would definitely be a signal to the prospective employers. So folks, go ahead and choose the field that you wanted to pursue and get the certification that you have been wanting for. Naresh, I remember you used to read a lot. What is your current reading list, and what one book do you think is a must read for any professional student or any young professional?
Thank you for asking this question, Naveen, because friends who know me, if there is, whenever we talk, the one thing they always talk to me about is reading and book reading. So I'm happy you asked this question. I believe, apart from the places I went, the people I met, if there is the third biggest influence on my life, it's a kind of reading I had. I remember very well when I was in 12th grade and just got into graduation. We come from town and we probably were not in the metropolitan cities that way. I think the kind of communication skills, the kind of speaking skills, the poise, the confidence was not there, right? So a lot of I remember even during the time when seniors were interacting with us, I mean, I don't know if I can name that, but the word ragging we use. I remember I was very shy. I was not at the same level as I am today. But I remember one thing very, very clearly. I think when it came to book reading, that enabled me, catapulted me to the next level. I think during my first few years of graduation, I would have read close to 50 to 100 books a year. I think that catapulted my entire speaking levels, communication levels to a next higher level, next orbit, and where I am. That enabled me to make it to IIM, go to Stanford, a lot of other places. So in that context, I would say reading is very, very important. Coming to what I'm reading these days, Naveen, I think these days with the kind of work I'm doing, I do not. A lot of times I feel I'm not getting the luxury to read physical books. So what I've done is I have, for the last 6 months to 1 year, I've done something on. I've taken Audible app. The Audible app reads books for me. So what I do is every day in the night before I hit the bed or when I'm traveling, I ensure that in lieu of music, I do books are read to me. So one book, if you want me to kind of suggest young students who are trying to kind of, I read various genres of books. For the benefit of those who are young professionals, I would suggest a book, particularly in these times of Corona. It is important for people to kind of attempt reading this book. This is one very good book that I have read, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. So this is one book that Charles Duhigg, this is a good book because this enables you to understand how our habits formed and how can you change habits, how can you create new habits, how can you kind of, reinstate, I mean, how can you close the old habits, destroy the old habits and reinstate a better habits from them. So this is a beautiful book I would want students to read.
In fact, you have suggested a very good title, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I finished reading that last year and I found it very, very useful. I'm sure our audience will also start reading that book and get benefited out of it. All right, so great conversation, Naresh and Sudhakar so far. So Naresh, one last question probably for this episode. You have taken so many roles like founder of 2 companies, supporting your younger brother, and then mentoring and coaching CEOs, helping students shape their careers, serving as a columnist on Economic Times and the Business Line. You have also served as a board member of AIMS AP chapter. So what is the secret and what is the one mantra that drives you forward?
Naveen, I think to answer this question in a single sentence, I think we just have one life. That is the answer. So what I try to do while we are not polymaths compared to the kind of people that existed in the world earlier, what I'm trying to do is in this one life, I try to kind of squeeze out as much life as possible every day. So while in a way we are vicariously living through different ventures that I'm part of. So at any given time, probably there are two, three different people who come to me for advice on the startups they have. While I'm myself an entrepreneur and emerging startup, I don't believe that I've already we have become very big, but yes, couple of successful startups, and I kind of advise many startups, and I take active role at any given time in multiple startups because I want to vicariously live multiple lives. That is the mantra. I want to kind of, because by being ourselves and just staying there, I don't think we are going to get a great learning experience, because the world is becoming more and more cross learning, and it's important for us to kind of apply learnings from one place to the other place, etc. I think that enables me. Yeah, that is the mantra I say. Yeah.
Amazing, Naresh. I simply loved it. You have one life and live it to the fullest extent. So do as many things as you can and follow your passion. And thank you so much for putting it in such a simple statement. All right. So thank you so much, Naresh, for accepting our invitation in such a short notice. In fact, it was very wonderful to connect with you after some time. Our guiding voice enabled us to connect. So thanks to the guiding voice for a better future. And we are sure our listeners would also love this conversation and will get immense benefit from every bit of it. Thank you so much again, Naresh.
Thank you for inviting me, Naveen and Sudhakar, and I wish you the very best for this podcast to become very successful.
Thank you, Naresh.
Thank you so much, Naresh. Thank you so much. Now, folks, coming to our trivia part. Today's trivia is something related to the world's most admired company for 13 years. You must be wondering which company it is. It is none other than Apple. Yes, Apple topped the recently published world's most admired companies list released by Fortune again this year too. And the very first Apple logo featured Sir Isaac Newton sitting underneath a tree with an apple about to hit his head. So, innovation and curiosity have been injected in Apple's DNA right from the beginning. It is very interesting, isn't it? Alright, thank you for tuning in. So, dear listeners, if you would like to share any trivias, please feel free to share them through email, theguidingvoice, number 4, letter U, @gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp us on India number 9494587187. We will not only share the best trivias, but we will also acknowledge the person that contributed the trivia in future episodes. We request you to like our page on Facebook, facebook.com/The Guiding Voice for you. And also you may follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/Guiding Voice, to stay tuned about our future episodes. There is more in store. Until next time, have a wonderful time. Take care and be safe. Thank you for listening.